ended up in the soap opera world for a short time, and was doing work, not on Broadway, and then ended up leaving New York, moved to Los Angeles for a little bit. And as I was working in my acting field, I always sort of had a side job in the restaurant business, and I loved it. To me, it was just as much theater as what I was doing.
Welcome back to the Cannonball Mindset, and I am in one of my favorite restaurants of all time. I got to have a family meal here probably almost a year ago, I think it was, a little over a year ago. I'm sitting with Jenny Levison, and she is the owner, creator, founder of Super Jenny.
Yes.
And if you think, well, I know people that own restaurants. I assure you, you know nobody like this. The story of how she created one of the, she's a restaurateur in Atlanta. She owns several locations, but the things she does besides just serve food is amazing. The story is amazing. So you're going to want to sit through for this one. Jenny, thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
And we're sitting in the actual restaurant, and we're in this loft overlooking the kitchen, and they are packaging up 600 quarts of soup to give to nonprofits, to give to
this is
schools, right?
This is our nonprofit that we started called the Zadie Project. So we package about 600 quarts a week, and it goes to children and families in the Title I school system here in Atlanta.
It's amazing. If you think about how much soup that is, there's a plethora of people down there scooping and boxing and packaging soup, and I've been here for 45 minutes, and they haven't stopped.
They're incredible.
It's a lot of soup. Yeah. So we're going to get to that. Amazing, just amazing situation. So let's start. So you own a restaurant chain called Super, S-O-U-P.
Yes.
Jenny, right? Super
Yes.
Jenny. And so let's start back and how somebody gets into the restaurant industry. I'm saying you went to school, you went to Carnegie Mellon for drama, and now you're a restaurateur.
Yes, I think my first goal in life was to be a Broadway star. So I went to Carnegie Mellon. I was in the acting program, which I loved, and graduated from there in 1988, and then moved to New York. I worked in New York.
Because that's where you're going to go. If you graduate Carnegie Mellon, you go to New York. You're going to be on Broadway.
You go to New York. You go do your thing. I ended up in the soap opera world for a short time, and was doing work, not on Broadway, and then ended up leaving New York, moved to Los Angeles for a little bit. And as I was working in my acting field, I always sort of had a side job in the restaurant business, and I loved it. To me, it was just as much theater as what I was doing.
Yeah, you're always on stage. That's a common practice where people that are in acting also do work in restaurants, correct?
Yes, especially in theater, because theater performs at night. You can have a day job. So it was something I always gravitated to. And the more I got into it, I found that I was really sort of more interested in the hospitality industry than I was in the acting world.
Why do you think that? Why do you think that? I'm saying, obviously, they're similar. You're both on stage. You're both in front of people. You're both dealing with things. But why? What was it about the restaurant industry that you really gravitated towards?
Well, I think what it was also about the acting industry is, you're always looking for your next gig. It's not an easy life for an actor. I knew I wanted to travel. I knew I wanted to have all these experiences in my life. And I just think I already knew in my early 20s that I was going to always be looking for that next acting gig. And when I was in the industry of hospitality, in the restaurant industry, I loved being around people. I loved the service. And I realized that it was probably going to be a different road for me, that I could actually, working hard, what might pay off in a different way than it did, in my acting field.
So was there a time that you can remember that was, okay, I gotta kind of, maybe not leave the acting behind, but I'm gonna make a shift. I'm gonna make a turn, a change. I think you referenced in your TED Talk, which was amazing by the way.
Thank you.
Michelle Obama calls it the swerve.
Yes.
Right? And so that you decided, I'm gonna swerve here, and I'm gonna pursue this idea of hospitality and restaurant, and kind of maybe put put acting on hold?
I think, and I told the story in my TED talk about that I was at an audition here in Atlanta for a Home Depot commercial that was going to be, if you book a commercial, you can make enough money for a year. So
Yeah.
it's pretty amazing if you get a national commercial. And I just remember being in front of these people, and I had a lot of training as an actor, and here I am auditioning for this commercial. And I remember, I think the director had said to someone else, and I overheard saying, she'd be great for this if she was, 20 pounds thinner or 10 pounds thinner,
Uh,
or if my hair was different.
uh,
And I had that aha moment of like, I'm not in control of my own future here.
yeah.
And I was actually in Atlanta. I came back to Atlanta to do a play, and I met someone in the catering business, and she just sort of offered me an opportunity to start working a little bit with her, but doing my own thing, and it just sort of took off from there.
So the whole idea, like I've never been a actor in drama or anything like that, but I can imagine that, going on those auditions and having that conversation, hearing somebody say that that's and again, this is just my assumption, but that's a common practice. Like, you're going to be rejected, you're going to be
Oh,
judged
all
here,
the
you're going to be judged,
time.
and that's what people's lives are. People that really want to pursue acting, they have to be able to really withstand that kind of rejection or that kind of
Yeah.
uncertainty. Would that be right?
It's all the time. It's just very uncertain, and even when you have a job, it's going to be over. If you're in the theater, it's going to be over in a certain amount of time,
Yeah.
and then you're always looking for the next thing. So I just found I became sort of unsettled, feeling
Yeah.
like, how am I going to get to do the other things I want to achieve in life if I'm always sort of looking for my next job?
You're always uncertain about. Yeah, I love that. And so now you're like, okay, I'm not going to you don't totally abandon acting because you just did a show here in
Yes,
Atlanta
yes.
recently, but for now you're going to put it on hold, and you decide you're going to go work with your friend. At what point do you decide, okay, I'm all in on this? There's a trip. How do you get to that point?
I was working with my friend. She had a catering business with a tiny storefront, and I think she just asked, do you want to try to sell sandwiches or something out of this, and see if it works. And I really had no experience, no business experience, no cooking experience, but I enjoyed it. I did it obviously as a hobby. I worked in a restaurant, and I realized right away that it was something I had some knowledge about, that I naturally knew how much food to make for that day. And I just one by one got these customers to come into this tiny shop, off the beaten path in Atlanta. And I realized I think I could be good at this. And I really enjoy it, but I need more cooking experience. So it was then that I sort of decided one day I don't want to go to culinary school. I think I would like to travel around the world and try to meet people in different countries and learn how to cook.
So most people say, all right, I want to be a cook. I want to be a chef. I really enjoy this. Let me look up the local culinary
Yeah.
school. Let me get a job at a restaurant and work alongside a chef and start, you say, okay, I definitely want to learn how to cook. I'm going to travel the world and I'm going to learn how to cook.
Yes, and it's not like I had the money to do that either.
So
But I
how
was
old are you? How old
convicted.
are you at that point?
I was 28.
28 years
Yeah.
old. You weren't married at the point, right?
I was married.
Oh, you
so
were married. So you
I
had to talk your husband in this
yeah.
too?
So when I came here and I was doing that small business, I met the man who became my husband, and he was a French chef. I met him through some friends, and I had to convince him, like, this is what I want to do. I think we should do this now. I mean, he thought I was crazy. My entire family thought I was crazy.
But somehow you convinced this French chef who could just have taught you how to cook,
Yes.
that, okay, the best way to cook, even though we can't afford it, is to travel around the world. And what's your plan? So I'm going to travel around the world and I'm going to work at restaurants. Like, how are you going to? I get to travel around the world, and I would be really good at traveling around the world and eating. But how do
Yes.
you get people to, like, what was your plan to learn how to cook by traveling around the world?
Well, I guess I was still feeling pretty naive at 28, and my plan was we were going to, back then you could buy, and you still can buy, this around the world ticket, and maybe it's $2,000 or $3,000, and you get a certain number of stops on different paths. I mean, you can find out through any airline that offers them. It's pretty
Never
amazing.
even heard of that.
Isn't that
Like
crazy?
two,
An
three thousand
around the
dollars,
world
and
ticket.
you just can get on a plane and get off here, get on a plane
Yes, it
again,
will
get
give
off
you a
here.
certain number of stops, and you can make your plan on that. So
That's
that's what
crazy.
I convinced him that we are going to buy, and we had a little bit of money from our getting married, but not much. Probably $10,000, and we were planning to be gone for almost 2 years. So we started in Europe, and the plan was when we were running low that we would just see, like, if we were staying in youth hostels, did they need help? We worked our way into some restaurants in Europe that someone needed to go on vacation, and we would fill in sort of under the table for them. Not that I had any like chefing experience at that point, but
Yeah.
I just sort of fibbed my way through working.
So what knowledge were you gaining? So you're seeing the local cultures, you're seeing how they prepare food, you're seeing their recipes, like what?
All of that, and just I would always meet a local person and explain, with my pocket translator or whatever, to if they didn't speak the language of what I was trying to learn, and it would never failed. We would get invited to people's homes to learn one recipe or for a meal, and then they would after a meal I'd say, could you teach me how you did this, some part of it.
It's
Like,
the
I don't know, that
craziest story. A lot of chutzpah, right?
We just sort of worked our way around. We did have a couple contacts. Like, we stopped in Israel for 3 months. We worked in the kosher kitchen of a large hotel. So that was an amazing experience, having to be in that circumstance.
Was there one spot, one place that you really gravitated towards? Like you were like, this place, like haven't seen a lot, haven't been to a lot of places. Was it Israel? Where was the place that you were like?
I loved Thailand, like traveling all through Thailand. We went from Bangkok all the way down through Malaysia to Singapore, and just that whole stretch, just all the people and the spices and how they cook. And, they have these night markets where people have just nothing, like a camper stove, and they're creating like unbelievable food. So
Yeah.
that to me really spoke to me.
So this is amazing story. It really is, because it really is
I want to go
like
back.
hands-on experience, right?
Yes.
And the whole idea that people would share their recipes, their knowledge, just because you asked,
Oh, yeah. I
right?
mean, think about it. I mean, if someone asked me, probably I would do the same thing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't think I ever had a no of someone saying, "What are you talking
Yeah,
about?" I
no, I'm
mean,
not teaching
people
you.
were always welcoming in every single country we went to.
Yeah, I'm going to Tokyo in a couple weeks, and
Hmm.
I've never been there. And people talk about how amazing it is, how clean it is, how friendly the people are, and it really is when you start thinking about it. Like, if you just ask people, people are generally good people, and they want to share their knowledge, but most
Yeah.
people don't ask, and that's just not in cooking. That's in life in general.
Anything.
Yeah.
So we just sort of did that as a practice. And even my husband sort of got on board after a while.
He was like, all right, maybe you're not so crazy.
Yeah, I
Maybe
know.
there's something to this, right?
Right. And so, we traveled during the Olympics here in Atlanta.
Yeah.
So we were able to rent our place out. We
Oh.
had a condo here, and that was helpful to us. And when we came back, and I sort of sat with all these recipes that I had gathered, that's sort of where the soup came from. I realized that over 80-90% of the recipes were soup, some form of a soup,
Really?
which was fascinating because that's like what every culture has.
Why is that, do you think? Why was it? I'm saying it didn't matter where you were in the world, 90%, 80 to 90% of the recipes are soup recipes. Why is that?
I felt it was something to do with economics, that people, especially the people I spoke to, were not wealthy and that were, lower to middle class. And soup is something that's filling. It's something that it can be made with, almost scraps. I mean, when I was married and we'd go visit my husband's family, the mom would make a soup and she'd literally throw in from the night before the fully dressed salad, any leftover meat, bread, and that's how she made a soup. And it was like the most delicious thing you've ever had.
That's awesome. I've
It's
never even thought
incredible.
about that. So all right, so now you're back. You got all these recipes scattered amongst your house and your person, and you're like, all right, now what do? You realize that there's 90% of it, 80, 90% of it is soup recipes, and now you have this light bulb idea to do what?
I'm have the light bulb of I want to make soup. This is what I'm going to do right here in Atlanta where it's 100 degrees.
I'm going to make soup in Atlanta where it's 100 degrees.
And people are going to love it.
So you're this enthusiastic optimist. People are going to buy soup
Yes, I'm definitely.
in the South. And so you share this news with
my family, my husband. They're just looking at me like, okay, here we go again.
Yeah, another crazy idea.
Another crazy idea. And I just rented this little commercial kitchen. I didn't even have a space. And I started making one pot of soup at a time. I had done a newsletter when I was on this trip, and I would send it out to anybody who had come to my original little business that really wasn't soups, saying, this is what I'm learning. It would have a recipe, it would have a story of my traveling. And so I had done that the whole trip. And when I came back, I contacted those same people and, very grassroots marketing. Just, do you want to buy some soup? I'm making this pot of soup, and I would deliver it around. Yeah. And little by little, it became very, busy, just me. And then this little space came available in Buckhead, my original space.
So 800 square feet.
Yes.
Retail space, and you are now going to be a restaurant person. You're going to open a restaurant.
I'm just going to open this restaurant. No experience.
Just going to open a restaurant. No experience. No business experience. No anything. But I have recipes, and I'm going to make soup. And so, how does it go? Obviously, we know the end story, but so what's the?
We started just my friend Colin and I. She was just a good friend of mine. She had worked in some restaurants, but no particular experience either. And we would just do everything together. We'd come in at 5 a.m, make everything, get ready for lunch, serve it, and then clean up and go home at 5 p.m. And we were in a very off the beaten path space, our original location. So we really had to go around the neighborhood, and we would give out flyers and free coupons. And, I'd wake up once in a while and be like, oh, I just have no energy today. I'm not going to do it. And I just put a sign on the door. We're closed today.
Yeah. Right.
So I just sort of did it my way in the beginning, and then one by one started adding employees as we needed them.
Do you think that your ignorance of how to own a restaurant and the whole, you think that served as a benefit to you?
100%. I remember we used to also close every August because I was married at the time. I'm not married anymore to this European, and how they all vacation and a month. So I'd close my restaurant for a month, and a very well-known restaurateur in Atlanta came over one day, and he said, I just want to show you the numbers of how much money you're missing the month you're closed. But it was me giving everyone a break, and everyone had that break of that month, and they got paid, which was like crazy, unheard of.
You paid them?
Yes.
While they didn't work?
Because I wanted them to go out and do something for themselves, come back, fresh. We were a small group, so it wasn't like I was paying 100 people. But, I decided right from the start that I wanted to have a culture, that I wanted to create my own culture, whatever that was going to be.
And so you have this restaurant. It becomes, I assume, successful enough that you can open a second.
Yes, we started to get busy. It took probably a year. We started getting busier and busier, but I never had any dreams of opening a second one. I mean, I was 10 years in before I opened the second. Yeah. And then, I saw this great location, and we had a cafe around the corner that's no longer there called Cafe Jonah. And I was like, what could we do in this house? And so little by little, when I found neighborhoods that I liked, that I just sort of proceeded looking for spaces that I thought were part of the community.
And so the restaurant, the location we're in today, this is awesome. This is my favorite. This is like, it is so, I know you, so this is like so you,
bohemian,
right?
Yes.
It's like there's paintings on the walls, there's a garden out back, there's flower pots everywhere. I'm saying this is you.
Yes.
And that's by design.
I would say yes, absolutely. They all pretty much look like this. Have essence of me in there. And I forgot what the original question was.
Yeah, I don't know if there was a question, but it was by design that you.
It was by design.
This really takes on. It's a very laid back kind of open, homey feel.
Yes, and if you came to my house, this is what it looks like.
the same
pictures
thing.
On the walls of my family and friends, and a very funky, artsy, bohemian look.
So you start this. So you're having great success, and you start this nonprofit. So
Yes.
now you own restaurants, as if that's not enough. And at this point, you're a single mom. Is that
Yes.
right? So you're a single mom. You own restaurants. So that's not enough on your plate. Now you're going to start a nonprofit.
Yes. Oh,
Well,
I remember what we were talking about. We were talking about I didn't have another restaurant till 10
yeah,
years
yeah, yeah,
in,
yeah,
and then we started building from there.
yeah,
And I realized, oh, we can really recreate this in different neighborhoods.
yeah.
And it's been 3 years now since we started the nonprofit, and I
But
think
why a nonprofit? Why, like, what? Like, at some point, did you just say, my cup has run over, and it's just more and more? Like, now, why would you start, like, the whole idea of a nonprofit?
I think it came about because a lot of time, when you're in the restaurant industry and probably a lot of industries, you get asked to donate a lot. You get asked to volunteer your time, do all kinds of things. And I started thinking about, what could we do on a daily basis, a bigger cause, that was going to be more effective than just donating, one gift card at a time, something like that to different organizations. And every year we have a summit. We close all the restaurants for 1 year and we bring all the staff. It's the only time we're all together in one room for a day.
So you close them all for a day,
Yes,
once
for
a year.
1 day.
Yeah.
And we get together and we do some activities, and then we sort of have this yearly meeting and talk about, where we've been, where we are, what we want to do for the next year. And I just sort of brainstormed with all of them of like, I want to become a more conscious company in this way. I want to give back on a daily basis. So here's my idea. I want to start a nonprofit. I don't know how to. I don't know anything about it. But, can
Which has
we?
never stopped you in the past of doing
No.
something. I don't know how to do it.
I
I
thought
don't know
maybe
anything
you
about
could
it, but
help
I'll
me
just do
become
it.
an ultra marathoner next.
Yes, that's exactly right. I'm saying, no, we haven't even talked about how you summit up mountains. Yeah, that's all those.
And so we just started brainstorming that day of what it would be. I came up with this name, the Zadie Project. Zadie is a word in Yiddish for grandfather. My father gave me my very first recipe, which is my dad's turkey chili. So that's like our most popular soup. We have it every day. And I just thought, what, this can be an ode to him. And my original idea was every time someone buys that chili, you're going to be donating, whether you like it or know it or not, you're going to be giving money to this nonprofit. Um, and in return, we're going to make soups, chili. We rotate what we donate. We're going to make these soups and then, give them to kids and families in Atlanta in need that aren't getting fresh food, where there's a lot of
Yeah.
food deserts here in Atlanta.
So for every turkey chili
Yes,
that you donate, all the money from from Dad's turkey chili,
100%.
100% goes to the Zadie Project.
Yes.
Where you then turn around and give food to underprivileged kids that don't have access to
Fresh food.
fresh food.
Right. So that's a portion, and that's a good chunk of money because we sell a lot of turkey chili. So
Yeah, right.
that is sort of my corporate responsibility for our company, that we're going to donate that. And then we created the nonprofit so we can then take outside donations to cover, other things like our farm and things like that.
So how much? So right now you're up to 600 quarts a week,
Yes.
which feeds about 1,200 people. Is that right?
Yes, it's
kids?
1,200 meals.
1,200 meals. How much soup do you think you've donated?
We have donated, I know exactly. We've donated about 60,000 quarts in the 3 years. We're just reaching 1,000.
60,000 quarts
Yeah.
of soup. And that would be 120,000 meals.
Yes.
Is that right?
Which I think, we're this tiny company, and this is just local. For me, I'm really proud of it. A lot of schools have started doing analytics, and they can start showing, when the kids are fed nutritious meals, their grades start to rise because their attention span is better.
Yeah, I was so naive about food deserts. And then several years ago, I was running a marathon in Baltimore. And I'm halfway through, and the Baltimore Marathon starts in the Inner Harbor, which is a pretty well-populated tourist area. And then it kind of wraps through like Harbor East, populated, but then it starts heading in some of the lower, what's the word I'm looking for?
Lower income areas.
Yeah, lower income areas, sorry, thanks. Lower income areas. And I'm running through there, and I'm looking around, and there is nothing. There is nothing. And I'm thinking to myself, how do these people who don't own cars, don't like, how do they get fresh food? Like, how do they get like good food? If all you know is this, then how do you even know there's something else out
Right.
there? And so this is a real problem.
And you realize, like, the people that are trying to get a grocery store and taking public transportation, like, it takes all day, to
Yeah,
get just some food. It's
yeah.
really a issue.
It's amazing. So 120,000 meals served in 3 years.
Yep, we're keep increasing. So
Yeah, it's absolutely phenomenal. So let me ask you a question. So now you're a restaurant owner, expanding. You're a single mom, head of a nonprofit, right? and now again, I know you. So then you decide, well, that's not enough.
I'm lazy. I'm feeling
Right,
lazy.
I'm gonna summit mountains. You participated in Jesse Itzler's 29029,
Yes.
which takes you up and down a mountain. Like how many times?
Oh yeah. Well, it depends which one you go to. I think the last one was 17 times, and you've got 36 hours to do
36
that.
hours to go up and down a mountain.
It's amazing. It
And
sounds crazy, but it's
it
amazing.
is crazy. It is a little insane. Like if you tell people that are not like outside the world, hey, I paid money to go and push my endurance to go walk up and down a mountain 17 times, which is equivalent to Everest.
Yes.
In a 30-hour period. It is crazy to think about that. Was there something you learned about yourself on that? What did you learn about yourself doing that experience?
Wow. There's so much I learned about myself, but I would say the biggest thing is just that I have so much more than I think physically. I was definitely always sort of that wannabe athlete. Someone asked me recently why I really did 29029, and I remember, I was the kid in grade school that was not a good athlete and always last pick on the team, and I wasn't athletic. I was the drama kid.
Oh yeah,
But as I'm older, I just feel like a totally different person when I'm moving and exercising and pushing myself like that. It's helped me in my business
yeah,
because it's hard. And things like the 29029, it's so difficult to achieve it that
yeah,
it's but and we've learned through a lot of things that we're usually giving about 40% of what's
yeah,
really in our tank,
yeah.
and it's just been an incredible lesson to me of what I can do for myself.
And you have a whole track record of this, and this is one of the things that really gravitates with me. You don't know how to cook, so you're gonna travel around the
I
country and
still
you
don't
learn how to cook, right?
know.
You don't know anything about restaurants, but you're gonna open a restaurant. You don't know anything about nonprofits, and you're gonna open a nonprofit. And you don't know really. You don't see yourself as an athlete, but I'm gonna hike up and down a mountain first. What would you say if you were to write a book, if you were to teach somebody else? What would be the key principles that you would pass on to somebody else? You'd say these are the three must-haves to be successful. And again, whatever success means to you, right?
Yeah.
So, success means different things to different people. But if you want success in your life, what are the three components that clearly you have a winning record, right? And I'm sure there's failures along the way and times you've bumped your
Plenty,
head.
yeah.
But what are the three most important keys that you've learned about yourself over this warrior march?
Wow, that's a big question. Definitely, I've learned that I truly believe anything is possible. I'm an extremely optimistic person in most situations. So anything is possible. And I think that people come across a lot of fear. People don't do things because of their fear, and I think successful people have plenty of fear. We just do it anyway,
Yeah, exactly right.
and that's part of it. And that makes me nervous even saying that.
Yeah.
But fear is a big part of it, and you just have to start somewhere. And I always tell people I think visioning is huge. That's helped me in every step of the way. I write my own vision statement every year of where I want to be 1 year from now, 5 years from now.
Love that.
I actually force my entire team to do that for themselves. Not concerning what they're going to do at Super Jenny,
Yeah.
but I don't want to waste any more time, and that's something that we've probably both learned a lot about from Jesse Itzler. Is no, I don't want to I'm not going out without a fight.
Yeah,
Is
right,
what I
right.
tell
Yeah,
people.
yeah,
Like I want my son to look back when I'm not here and just be like, my mom was a badass.
yeah.
She was slightly crazy and did what she wanted to do.
Yeah,
Um,
with no rules.
that you make up your own rules.
Yeah.
There are no rules.
That's the problem. Most people end up living their life by somebody else's rules or what they believe, how they're going to be perceived by other people, rather than being truly just free and making up your own rules and running being the lead actor in your own life.
Right. And it's so hard because I think we all, the closer you get to 50 and you start getting, we start to see that, right? You see that more. And if I could just teach my 16-year-old earlier that he doesn't have to be so concerned with how other people are seeing him,
Yeah.
I think it would make such a difference,
Yeah, we spend more
because,
time worrying about how others see us rather than how we see ourselves. And really,
yes, just how we see ourselves.
if we were more focused on our own self view and the person I want to become, I'm on this quest now to be the person I've always wanted to become. And so I see that you talk about vision statements. I have vision statements, but my vision statements aren't where do I want to be. It's who do I want to be for a year from now,
Yeah.
and how do I step into that role? How do I start seeing myself as that role? And that's the quest. But most people are too concerned with outside view rather than self view.
Exactly.
Right?
And that's a great opportunity to sit and really reflect of like, who do you want to be? And start writing it down and write it like you're already there,
Yeah,
like it's already
exactly right.
happened,
Yeah.
which I really believe in that.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. A couple more questions. All right. So, where do people find you? Where do people follow you, find you, connect with you if they want some Jenny inspiration? Obviously, if you're in Atlanta, I'm telling you, come to one of the locations. I suggest, any location, but this one is, this is the only one I've been to, but I'm sitting here and I walk out of my car today. I'm like, Evan, do you smell that?
You gotta
Like
have
it just
some
smells.
brunch.
Like I'm in the parking lot, and you can smell the goodness.
Thank you.
So where do they find you?
You can find me. I like Instagram, following Super Jenny. My full name, Jennifer Levison, on Facebook or any
Yeah.
of Super Jenny restaurants.
Yeah.
And then our website is superjennyatl.com or the Zadie Project.
Can people give? Can people give to the Zadie Project? If they're in New York, can they
yeah.
donate to the Zadie Project?
They
or
can look
have
on
to buy
that
this chili?
website. No, they can look on the website, and we do events all the time. If you're in Atlanta, or if you're outside of Atlanta, we do events concerning, that all the funds go to the Zadie Project.
That's 100% of the proceeds of Dad's show. And your dad is
100%.
still with us?
He is 93 and rocking it.
93. So how does he feel that his turkey chili, the dad's turkey chili, right, is contributing to 120,000 people?
I don't know if he really realizes the impact. I think he thinks, oh, that's a nice thing. He's embarrassed by the fact that people, he was a lawyer. He's still a lawyer, been a lawyer for 50 years. And
Wow.
people are like, you're my dad's turkey chili guy.
You're that guy.
And he was like a well-respected lawyer here in Atlanta, so he laughs about that. But, it's a great point. I should talk to him about it
Think about that legacy.
I don't think he realizes how many people that are really eating it and, getting some nutrition.
You're taking you're taking the number one most popular item on your menu.
Yes.
It's not like you're saying, hey, we're going to donate the proceeds from the worst selling option on the menu. You're picking the most popular item.
Oh my God! Now you're freaking me out. See, I do things without thinking,
yes,
but we're still doing it.
Think about that.
Yeah.
And so the idea I'm saying, I can only imagine, especially as a father of twin daughters, the impact the significance that would make me feel, how good that would make me feel to know that kids are eating because of a chili that my daughter ended up taking the recipe and making successful.
Yeah, that's amazing. You're right. I'm going to tell him about it.
All right, last question. Before I'm definitely. What time do you open?
We're going to eat.
Yes, I'm definitely eating. Evan, are you hungry? Evan, I'm like, listen, we're eating at this place. All right, so last question. 50 years from now, 60 years from now, when you leave this earth, 70 years from now, whatever it may be, what do you want your contribution to have been?
Well, first of all, I want my contribution to have been to raise an amazing child. So I hope that he'll be, a little older than me now in 50, 60 years. I want him to
Yeah.
have an amazing life and to remember all this and to do something in his own vein. So that probably is my first concern. I just want to people to remember that Super Jenny, whether it's here still or not, was just an incredible local, company. They were conscious. They were part of the community. That's the best I can hope for. I want to be the start of change.
Hmm.
Our business isn't just doing the nonprofit. We're trying to be a zero waste zone of using compostables and composting and recycling, and we're doing all those things that we think are important, for the environment. And that's how I want to be remembered. I haven't. People ask me what our legacy is. What's my end game plan? Am I going to sell? Am I going to franchise? And if it doesn't go on when I'm not here, I'm okay with that.
Hmm.
I just want to make my impact now.
Love that. Listen, if you're in Atlanta, come get some soup. Come get some soup and sandwiches and some lunch, and definitely donate to this 80 project. It's a really worthwhile cause. And follow Jenny Levison. She's a badass. Hashtag badass. Thanks, Jenny.
Thank you.